Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year's Eve. Welcome to Tilted Perceptions Podcast. This is episode number 2, starring me, Jimmy B. I just started this show yesterday. I feel like I got the sound figured out in my last podcast, episode 1.5. So I'm just, trying to make as much content as possible and just throw it out there and let you guys determine whether I keep on doing this or not. So, what I want to about today is quite a few things, but how to heal ourselves. The power of the subconscious mind, healing frequencies, the law of attraction, things like that. I don't know if anybody ever seen the documentary in 2017 called "What the Health," but it's on Netflix, and I remember watching it not long after it came out. Maybe I don't know, maybe 2018 is when I watched it, and honestly, that's one of the first rabbit holes, if you will, that I went down was watching What the Health, and basically what it is a documentary that exposes the collusion and corruption in government and big business. So basically, these posters that you see, plastered all over the internet or, on the signs on the side of the road. Let's use Burger King, for example, right? They're plastering these posters of this big, huge Whopper, right? And greasy barbecue sauce dripping off of it with French fries. And they're really trying to get your attention and have you buy one of these Whoppers, right? Well, you go eat this Whopper that they're blasting and advertising all over the place, and it's just filled with poisons, basically, and processed food, and it's not good for us, and it's causing a lot of people to get sick, and one of the leading causes of diabetes. And basically, what this documentary, it's like ultimate, I guess, underlying tone of the documentary is try to get you to become vegan. I don't know if I completely agree with all that because I'm not vegan, but it does expose, how everything is connected and it's all about money and business. So one of the things that it exposes and really shed light on for me was that how everybody's in bed together, right? So if we pay all this money for advertisements for these processed food, fast food places to, you know, throw these burgers all over the place and have people go buy them and start eating them, right? Basically, over time, leads to being unhealthy, being overweight, could potentially lead to diabetes. And then, as a result of that, where do you end up? The healthcare system, right? And then once you're in the healthcare system, they don't treat you how they need to treat you. They prescribe pills or something of that nature because they get money that way, right? There's a meme that I share pretty often. Um, Whenever it pops up, I tend to share it because it just makes so much sense to me. And it says, "A patient cured is a customer lost." Customer lost, and I truly believe that. So the food industry wants to get you in their restaurant or their place of business to eat their food so they make money. As a result of eating their food, you develop health problems. When you develop health problems, you end up in the healthcare system. When you end up in the healthcare system, you end up on pills, which brings big pharma in. And it's just like a vicious cycle that is just generating more sick people, more obese people, more pharmaceuticals and more money for the people that are already rich. And the what it also sheds light on is how these entities donate to each other to like keep it going. So it's like they don't really want to fix the problem; they want to keep us sick, And it's once your eyes opens to that, it's hard not to look at it, and it's hard not to see. And like I mentioned in previous episodes, I had my own struggles with it being overweight, and honestly, I still am overweight, and I probably could be considered obese. At one point in my life, though, I was 350 pounds, and I used to eat fast food all the time. I try to stay away from it. I try to eat healthy most of the time. I do have a terrible sweet tooth. But if you look at uh, statistics, 2/3 of adults are either overweight or obese. I mean, it's getting worse, right? If you think about the olden days when it was old fashioned, we didn't have fast food places on every corner. Processed food wasn't readily available for everyone like it is today. And it's just continuing to make us sick. There are a bunch of statistics online about the statistics on diabetes and obesity. If you can go to the What the Health website, just and the reason I'm mentioning this is just one example. There's so many documentaries out there that have similar things like this, but I'm just mentioning this one because I've watched it a few times and I just want to relay the information, right? I've always been a person who likes to do my own research, right? If I find something interesting to me or something that somebody says on a documentary and I want to kind of start looking into it, I'll go look at that information myself to try to see if it's true and see if it's accurate. And once you start diving into it, it's eye opening, and you're like, whoa, really. So what I can tell you from my own experience looking into a lot of different things, the underlying uh, culprit in most of these agendas is money. People just want to. People are greedy. They don't care about health. They just want our money. And so let's talk about RFK uh, on a lot of different fronts. I'm going to mention a few things here. So I love RFK. I love what he stands for. I love that he's a Kennedy and that he realizes the problems that we're having with the food industry and the FDA and all these different three-letter agencies that just seem to want to make things more difficult and generate more money for themselves and really don't care about the people getting sick or whatnot. So RFK also used to be a Democrat. And just recently, during the election season, not long ago, switched to a Republican, hoping that Trump would win, and so he could potentially serve in his cabinet. And Trump did win the election, and Trump said that RFK will oversee the Department of Health and Human Services, which I think is a wonderful idea. What I don't like about this whole thing is that if RFK was still a Democrat and say the Democrats won, the whole left and Democratic arm would have nothing but praise and applause for RFK. However, now that he's switched sides because the poll on the left is just so far over there, now he's a villain. And all of a sudden they don't like him. And what really bothers me about that whole thing is they're trying to use his heroin addiction, his struggles with heroin that he used to have against him, like it makes him less of a man or something, or like he's not fit to serve in this capacity. Like all of a sudden, all the love that they had for him completely vanished, and now he's public enemy number one, and he's an addict, and he's a racist and a bigot and everything else because he's with Trump, which is absolutely ridiculous. 100% ridiculous. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink or a drug in over 17 years. Doesn't mean that I can't perform my job well, or that my life hasn't changed, or that I can't make a difference. So that whole narrative that is floating out there, it really pisses me off, honestly. It's just like petty. And I don't even want to really get into politics. I'm sure I will in one of these episodes, like where I dive deeper into that. But it's just such a touchy subject for a lot of people, and everybody seems to be offended about every little thing nowadays. And uh, it's just it's a pissing match, and it shouldn't be that way. Like I would think that every American that lives in this country should be concerned about what we're eating, in our health, and everybody being overweight and ending up in the healthcare system, and people with diabetes and chronic illnesses and all this other stuff, which could be potentially avoidable and curable if we were given the correct information, or the correct treatments or the correct medications. Or when given the correct medications, we're not dependent on them forever to generate more money for big pharma and things like that. It's just a vicious, ugly circle of manipulation and greed and money and government overreach and everything else. So that brings me to healing ourselves. I've been experimenting with this stuff lately, and I'm a firm believer that we can heal ourselves. They do have a lot of natural remedies, uh, things. You can look all this stuff up online, but I mean, most people know that things like ginger or cloves or eucalyptus oil or turmeric, right, have natural, it's like natural medicine, right? We can get most of the medicine and things that we need from stuff that is organic, that is just, you know, grown here. Um, we don't technically need a pill to heal ourselves. And also, what's been really prevalent to me in my life is the power of the mind. The mind is a powerful, powerful tool. And our body is listening to everything that our mind thinks, everything that our mind tells ourselves. The body is listening. It kind of goes hand in hand with the law of attraction. Speaking of the law of attraction, I'm sure most of you have tapped into The Secret, which is a really good movie and book. I highly suggest that if you haven't got into that. The power of manifestation, right? Believing that something will happen kind of makes it happen. If I believe that good things are going to happen to me, it seems like the universe conspires to make sure that good things happen to me. But it's all about your mindset, and we can use this same type of tool, but use it for healing ourselves. Let me give you an example. Okay, when COVID came around in 2020, before it was everything shut down and locked down, you kind of knew it was coming. And man, I got to talk about this. Does anybody remember This is like a sidebar, but I just brought up COVID, so it made me think of it. Does anybody remember when this first came out? Let's say around December of 2019, when it was in Wuhan, China, right? Does anybody remember seeing on the news people dropping dead in the street? I do. I remember seeing that on the news. What we know today from COVID is people don't drop dead in the street. It's a respiratory illness. Yes, some people die, but they don't just like a they got shot, just drop dead in a street. And people had hazmat suits on and just like dead bodies laying on the streets in China and that. So you can't find those videos now, but I remember seeing them. So you know what that tells me? That was a scare tactic, right? Either by the elites or our own government or somebody involved to cause mass fear and hysteria. Anyways, enough of that sidebar. So when COVID came around, I'm really big into meditation and the power of visualization, and so I meditated and prayed on this COVID thing, and I basically sat there with some like spiritual meditation type music on, and I started just visualizing COVID coming here, and I was like saying to myself and basically chanting internally that the COVID virus is not allowed to enter my body. It is not allowed. And if it does enter my body, it will be disintegrated as soon as it does. And I kind of just ran with that. And I sat on that. And I visualized that. I visualized the virus entering my body. And as soon as it came in my body, it was disintegrated. Long story short, I've never had COVID. Maybe that's just a weird coincidence. I don't know what year are we in. It's New Year's Eve, 2024. So we're in basically 2025 tomorrow, which will be 5 years. Yeah, 5 years since COVID was around. I've never had it. I feel like that has something to do with it. Also, I did some experimenting with not giving any power when I'm sick. So if I have a cold or something's going on and I don't feel well, I don't say it. I don't say, oh man, I feel like shit. I feel sick. I feel terrible. Because I feel like when we say that, that's how we're going to be. That's what we're telling ourselves we are. If we're genuinely sick and then we're telling everybody that we're sick and, oh, I don't feel good and I'm sick and, ugh, then that's exactly how I'm going to feel and that's exactly how I'm going to be. I've experimented with this a few times. And what I can tell you is, yes, I was genuinely sick, but I didn't give any power to it. I didn't tell anybody that I was sick. And as a matter of fact, I did the opposite. I would tell myself, oh, I feel great. I feel good. I'm not sick. I'm immune to these viruses. I have a good immune system. A few times I woke up the next day and I felt fine, like I wasn't even sick. Other times it's lingered and I would do the same thing. But in my belief, in my opinion, from these experiments, is that it absolutely 100% helps when I don't give any power to whatever's going on with any type of illness or sickness. And even if you stay sick for a few days, I don't think it's nearly as severe as if I played into it, and just the woe is me and the self pity. And it's kind of along the same lines of depression and self pity. Like when we're in that state, it just like multiplies and it manifests itself. If we're in a depressed state and we constantly focus on that depression or that self pity, we're going to stay there and we're going to find other things to be depressed about and other things to find pity about. It's, and the same is true for the opposite. When I think positive, positive things happen. When I look at the bright side, I'm less likely to be depressed. When I switch my mind from pessimism to optimism, things start to shift. The world starts to seem different. I start to feel better. Try it. What do you got to lose, right? I like to figure things out. I have a job that I get paid for where I have to figure stuff out. And I feel like that's why I like it so much because I have to use my brain and I, design piping systems. So not every piping system is the same, and there's usually something to figure out, and I got to figure it out. And I do the same thing with anything that intrigues me when it comes to my body or my mind or whatever. If somebody gives me a suggestion, say, "Hey, this works, you should try it." I'm probably going to experiment and see if they're telling the truth and try it. I did the same thing with prayer. I was super skeptical of God and this whole prayer thing. Especially when I got sober, they're saying I needed a higher power of some sort and that I needed to pray. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. I don't know if that's going to work for me because I had these preconceived conceptions that I grew up with that I was doing wrong or I was sinning. And if there was a God, he didn't care nothing about me or whatever. To me, it's just a petition. Prayer is an action. It's an action. I have to say something, and you don't even have to put a name to it. When I say this a lot to people I help. If you find yourself being angry and you don't say anything or you don't do anything, odds are you're going to stay angry. Now, if you're angry and you can pause for just a minute, like take a deep breath, man, I'm super mad right now. Please help me not be so angry. I didn't even say God before that, right? You don't have to. But I just verbalized something. I said it. I can guarantee you that you're going to feel a little different after saying that. And that's kind of how my journey with prayer started. It was an experiment. And now it's an experiment that works so well that I have no reason to deny it or doubt it. I use prayer constantly. Even if I don't understand exactly who or what I'm praying to, it's an inside thing, you know. I also heard this one time, which made a lot of sense to me. They talk about there's lots of different literatures where they reference this God or this higher power or whatever it is for you as being within. It's within. It's inside of us. It's inside of our makeup. It's part of who we are. And people are always saying, "Oh man, I need to get closer to God." Well, you can't get much closer than inside you. It's there. It's part of our makeup. The thing is that most of us never tap into it. Most of us never utilize it. It's the ones that utilize it and tap into it and believe that things start to happen. So all this stuff I feel like is connected in a way. Prayer, the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, healing ourselves, the power of the subconscious mind. Oh my gosh, that's another really good book. Power of Your Subconscious Mind, written by Joseph Murphy. I listened to that on Audible. I think I've listened to it twice now. So good. It gives different examples of how, and in this book, it kind of refers to your subconscious mind. It almost could be like another higher power, or just like deep down within. Everybody has a mind and they have a subconscious mind. And whatever we think, our subconscious mind is basically going to ensure that that is our reality, because inside of us, our thought plane has dictated that. And the subconscious mind will make sure that whatever our mind just dictated is going to happen. And there's one part in this book in particular that I found fascinating. And it kind of goes in line with the placebo effect, right? Where if you think that it's going to work, it probably will. And it was, this man was dying. I think he had cancer, and he was, laying in bed, and it's on his deathbed. And I can't remember if it was his son or his grandson, basically brought him this piece of wood. And he told him that this piece of wood was a sacred piece of wood that had healing properties from some like sacred temple or something, right? The wood wasn't from a sacred temple, but that's what he was told. So he grabs this piece of wood, right, thinking it's from a sacred temple with healing powers, and like just kind of laid with it all night and prayed and meditated and talked to this piece of wood or whatever, and healed himself. Got rid of that cancer. That's powerful stuff, man. And that's documented, right? So it's things like that that make me feel like I'm on the right track, that I totally can heal myself. And for the most part, I don't hardly ever have anything too much wrong with me. I probably get sick like once a year, like most of us, but um I I do a lot of internal work, and I do a lot of prayer, and I do a lot of meditating, and I believe that I can heal myself, which I think is true. And this is just my opinion on this, but I believe that, like with cancer, okay, cancer kills a lot of people. And I mean, but there's a lot of people that beat it too. And I feel like, in my opinion, the ones that beat it are the ones who believe that they will. And the ones that die from it are the ones that believe that they're going to die, that they just wallow in it, and they start worrying about it, and they fear it, and it just consumes them. The ones that beat it have faith. They have faith that they're going to beat it, that they're stronger than it, that they can overcome it. And those are the ones that survive it. So there's two different mindsets right there, right? And I feel like that there is something to that. What I've been into recently, most recently, is frequencies. My intuition has been saying, Jimmy, look into frequencies, they heal. Okay. I learned to listen to my intuition. I've mentioned this before. What about frequencies, right? So I got this app. I paid like $30 for the year. I think it's called Brainwaves or something. But anyways, it has all these different hertz frequency, and the range of the frequency needed for um, certain health benefits. Okay. I'm going to name off a few. And I've experimented with these, and I swear there is something to it. I swear they work. And I mean, if all you got to do is listen to some sounds, why wouldn't you do it? Why would you wait for a healthcare professional that's just going to prescribe you prescriptions and then go home for the day while the man at the top collects all the money and doesn't give a shit about you? Why wouldn't you go on YouTube or Google some healing sound frequency and listen to it if it might have a potential to help you out with whatever's ailing you? I don't know, man. It's kind of sad, really, when we think about it, how they don't want us to know that we can heal ourselves without them, because they wouldn't get any money that way. You see the problem here? That's a problem. It's not about humanity anymore. It's not about people. It's not about wanting someone to be better or someone to cure themselves. It's about lining their pockets with more money. So that's why I'm talking about this right now, because I want to see you guys heal yourselves, or at least try. Experiment. Do some research like I do. You'll probably find that it works. I found that it works. So here are some interesting ones, and this is just a handful. There's so many more. There's frequencies for everything. And then I want to touch on this other thing, and then I'll probably wrap this episode up. So, to boost brain function, you need a frequency with about 315.8 hertz. They have cell regeneration. For cell regeneration, you want to listen to a frequency that's around 111 hertz. For healing tissues, you want to listen to a frequency with around 285 hertz. Thyroid function, I know a lot of people have issues with their thyroid. Thyroid function frequency is 763 hertz. Heart function frequency, 696 hertz. Kidney function frequency, 625 hertz. Blood circulation, 337 hertz. Toxin cleanse. Want to cleanse them toxins out of you? Should be listening to a frequency of about 741. Energy. Want more energy? Listen to a frequency of 528. Like I said, they have so many more. There's another one that was on my app called decongestion. And I can't remember what the number is, but it's on my phone. And I had the sniffles. I had the little mild case of something a couple weeks ago, actually. And I listened to this decongestion, and I'll be damned, if after listening to this for a while, all of a sudden I could breathe again. Weird. Yeah. And there's a ton more. Like they have metabolism enhancing frequencies, fat burn frequencies, sleep frequencies. Like I feel like, and my intuition told me this, so I feel like there's something, like the universe is telling me that there's something with the frequencies, right? And that's probably why music puts us in a good mood, right? Especially if it's like uplifting music. And this brings me to another thing that I heard or I seen on TikTok, which is, being that I'm in tune with all these frequencies now, this conspiracy theory kind of makes sense. So I've seen a few different videos on it, but basically in the early 1900s, uh, people started confiscating all the bells that we have, right? And they justified it as, oh, we need to take all these bells for the material to, make more weapons for war. The conspiracy theory is that bells have a frequency to them when we ring the bell, which is a produces like a hertz of around 432, which is for harmony. Harmony and peace, which is like a higher good vibration. But this, um, oh no, excuse me, that's wrong. But these they did away with these bells, right? And because they're uplifting, right? And they want everybody at a lower vibration. The 432 hertz that I was just talking about is a little note that I have on this piece of paper over here about music. So the tones for music used to be at 432 hertz, which is produces harmony and good vibrations, right? And they changed that. Who changed it? I don't know. But somebody changed it, and they changed it from 432 to 440 hertz. And 440 hertz is a little more unsettling. It's not as harmonious, right? Which causes confusion. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to think about there, but it just with me, experimenting with all these harmonies, these frequencies lately, it really has my mind spinning on, man, what's really going on, right? And that's so. Having said that, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover in this episode for now. I'm sure I'll touch on a lot of this stuff as I keep going. But if you guys have any questions or have any of your own experiences, please let me know. Shoot me a comment in the comment sections if you've experimented with frequencies or the law of attraction or the law of manifestation, or have you healed yourself? Let me hear about it. I love to hear stuff like that because I feel like I'm not just coming up with this stuff on my own. Like my body is telling me that this stuff is real. I'm experimenting and I'm starting to heal myself and I'm starting to reap the benefits of tapping into this different realm of healing powers, and I want everybody to be able to tap into it. Part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast and just trying to put out as much content as possible to get the conversations flowing and just give out the information, right? Because we're here to help one another. I hope you all have a great New Year's Eve, and I will be back soon enough with something else for episode 3. Thanks for joining. Please uh, leave a comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's free. I appreciate it.